back to Rants and Bants, WJ's official entertainment podcast, brought to you by The Pitch. And as always, it's your host, Marone. So I want to classify this, because this is my first podcast that I'm publishing since, the start of the second semester. So I'm going to classify this as, start of season 2, and everything in semester 1 was, season 1. So to start off season 2, I'm going to start something that's not really, it is entertainment, but it's kind of serious, and it's not the fun stuff that I did, because I think the last thing I did was the Adele podcast, the album review, which I would love to do more of those. But today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, a little bit not. I'm going to talk about how people of color are portrayed in Hollywood, not just in Hollywood, but in the media. So I'm classifying that as in TV shows, movies, so I'm guessing in Hollywood, but it's everything. It's everything that my mind comes up. I don't really have a script. This is really going to be a rant, which is obviously in the title, Rants and Bants. So this is total rant, where everything else I kind of do is scripted. This isn't. This is me completely just talking off the top of my head. But this kind of started as how people of color, and especially me, I'm a Black girl, so I see more things from my own perspective than I do see it from other people of color's perspectives. But for me, I don't watch the show, but a lot of my friends watch it, so I was kind of watching their reactions to Netflix's Shadow and Bone is coming out with a new season. And I remember, I haven't read the books either, so it's based off of these books. Shadow and Bone is based off of the Grishaverse series, so Shadow and Bone and all the other books that I just can't remember the name off the top of my head right now. But it's also based off of Six of Crows by the same author, Leigh Bardugo, and I haven't read it, but I don't think that classifies that means I don't know what I'm talking about, because I saw the fan art, and 2, I've read excerpts, and I've read the descriptions off of the one. I don't know if there's more than one, but one of the main Black characters, Jasper, and I saw, first of all, that was a dark-skinned Black man. You guys can twist it any way you want, but whenever there is a book adaptation into a movie, and I talked about this in the first episode, why I hated book adaptations, this is one of them. Whenever there is a book adaptation to a movie or a TV show, they never cast Black people correctly. Obviously, I'm prefacing this by saying I don't know any other instances from other people of color, because I am not another person of color. I'm Black, so I always look at how Black people are being seen first. So back to Jasper. He was, in all the fan art I saw, he was dark skinned with a buzz cut. And when the show came on, I know people are gonna say oh, he's biracial. It does not mean every single biracial person is light skinned. I think people need to understand that first. And also, like I said, all the fan art, and he was literally described as dark skinned in the books. So there's no way you can really wrap your head around. There's no way you can distinguish that, differentiate that. And so and I remember also seeing that they made his hair long in the show, and they permed the heck out of it. That hair was so fried. Me myself, I was embarrassed. How can you not, when you have Black hair? This is another thing, how people of color are gonna be portrayed in the media. Whenever Black people are on shows, and there's a predominantly white cast, and it's one Black character, it is not that hard to get a hairstylist that can work on Black hair. So this is another segue. It's another thing I've been seeing. It's not that hard to just hire an artist, a hairstylist that can do Black hair, that can do makeup artists that can do makeup, because there's no reason why actors and actresses need to do their own hair. I remember Vampire Diaries, when the actress Kat Graham had to literally do her own hair because she was like, and again, I haven't watched The Vampire Diaries because I didn't really care for it as a kid, but but from what I've seen on Instagram, like, she did a good job holding her hair. Like, she didn't do the best job, but what could you do when she was literally offered absolutely nothing? Like, she was the one of the only black characters on that show, and she had to do her own hair, and she literally broke down about it so many times after. And in these recent years, she did like a Vogue interview just talking about like how she couldn't love her own natural hair because they were like forcing wigs on her, which is absolutely ridiculous. Example of this is Tati Gabriel on the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, like how she had to pretty much just do her own hair because there was literally nobody else to do it there for her. Like, she was doing her own hair while everybody else didn't have that. Like, I think it's just like something like, okay, yeah, she did her own hair. Like, that's not like a really big deal to everyone. That's just very weird to me. Like, no. And there's so, like, those are just like 2 instances out of like 100. Those are like the only things I can just remember off the top of my head. There are plenty more. There are so many more if you went and researched on how they literally just cast black characters aside. But this is not a talk about how black characters are literally, black actors and actresses are literally discarded, but I want to talk about how they're portrayed. And also thinking people of color, like, I think the main thing is how, and for me especially, like, I'm very grateful for the amount of black content that I get in the media, like in movies and in TV shows, and like if it's especially things if it's like our own voices. Like, I love that. I love, like, I remember when On My Block came out, I was really pleased with On My Block. I really liked it because it was great to see like minority kids in inner cities. Like, I just thought that was really great. And there's a bunch of other things that I obviously love, but am I feeling a little bitter because some of it is just absolutely terrible? Yeah. Black trauma is always going to be used as a storyline in so many different things, and I think people just like don't recognize how insane that is because we're just happy that we're getting recognition and we're getting something that like represents us, but like that doesn't really represent us. So this is gonna segue into this past weekend. I watched that new Tyler Perry Madea movie, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. As a kid, I used to eat up Tyler Perry. Like, I used to eat up any Madea movie, like Madea, Big Happy Family, or like The Family Union, or Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Like, I didn't really care what about the stereotypes when I was a kid. Madea Goes to Jail. Like, I ate those movies up. Like, I used to watch them. I had the DVDs. Like, I was obsessed as a kid, and at least then I could kind of say like at least the storylines were good. Like, they were stereotypical, yes, but like at least it was entertaining. At least there was something to give. There is nothing with Tyler Perry like that makes me want to itch to watch his movies because I just wanted something fun. I think now, maybe because I'm older and I'm more like mature, I don't know. Like, I know terrible trashy movie when I see it, and I know terrible trashy movies that are just there to like really just piss off black women. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't want to sit here and like ruin everybody's fun. Like, that's not what I'm about. But I'm pretty sure I can sit here and call out just pure foolishness. Like, if you sit there and you watch any Tyler Perry movie, you could really just point out how stupid and how overused his storylines are, and how they're just filled with black stereotypes. And he will come and say like, oh yeah, like I have really backed up my hatred for Tyler Perry with facts. And he will come and say like, oh yeah, that's how my mama acted, that's how my grandmother acted. Like, I already know for a fact that's not how they acted. Like, your grandmother was not getting arrested while being a stripper like 20 times a day. Like, no, I don't care if this is like, no, I'm gonna dispute it. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, and there are so many things that like, okay, Tyler Perry is just one thing, but when I have to see people who aren't black and they use Tyler Perry movies as a way to connect to black culture, like, that pisses me off more than I can, like, I don't care about anything else. That's what pisses me off the most. And I know, like, I remember my friends, and I used to be so confused when we were like, because I grew up in Ethiopia, like when I used to see Arab people just being portrayed, and I'm so serious because this is like a fact, but in Western movies, I've had to count how many times I've seen Arab people being portrayed that aren't terrorists. Like, what is up with that? Like, and I'm so serious. Western countries will take small things that a few Arab and a few Muslim people have done and just make it into like it's their only personality trait. Like, what's going on here? That is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so sorry, but not every single Arab person is going to blow up a building screaming Allah Akbar. Like, get over yourselves and do something. Like, it's just, there's so much portrayal in the media that is just so incorrect and so false and so insanely disgusting that, like, it's upsetting to watch every 5 minutes. Again, it same goes for every other person of color, like using our biggest stereotypes to further like examples in like the media. Like, why is every single Jewish person in the movies portrayed as like the big man and portrayed as like the big boss with all the big bucks? Like, it's like the smallest and the simplest stereotypes that just push and push and push, and it's so harmful. Like, nobody really sits here and thinks how harmful that is, which is disturbing on so many levels. I always say it to my friends and everything. Like, one thing about me, like, I don't beat the angry black woman stereotype. Like, if I get mad, I get mad, but I don't like when people have to point it out to me when they see things on TV. They're like, oh my god, like, Marone, you're exactly like that person, you're exactly like that character. And I know exactly what that character is like on TV, and for you to come and say it to me, and I've actually had people say that to me, so that's why I'm like getting more angry about it. But when you've actually had to come and say to me like, oh, you're like that character, and it's like that one angry black woman who has to, like, a welfare queen, quote unquote, that is upsetting, and that's disgusting and detrimental to so many things. And I just think that's really disappointing how black people and how people of color, it just furthers stereotypes in other people. And I think apart from just like, if it's not spreading stereotypes, and if it's just like not showcasing stereotypes, there is nothing that Hollywood does, because it's either that or just having a side, like the character of color is going to be the stupid sidekick to the white friend, to their white counterpart. And it's insane, because why is this one black man cracking every single joke? Are you telling me these white characters can't tell jokes? Like, what's going on here? They have no lives of their own, just making jokes, being the magical Negro, quote unquote. That's actually a stereotype. That's actually a thing. And it's insane to me, because like, what's going on here? Like, and I'm not going to sit here and say like, okay, myself and I, like, with this podcast, I'm going to go and change the world and change how, like, the perspective. Like, no, I'm not. And I'm not going to sit here. And that's another thing I want to say, like, how media portrayals, like, and it comes back to bite normal black people or like normal people of color in the butt every single day. Because why are you telling me that, oh yeah, in the media, yeah, they're portraying black girls like this, so you have to get yourself together, and you have to be an example, lead an example. Like, no, I don't. Like, people of color do not have to sit here and be afraid of every single stereotype that's being flung at them and try to correct it every single chance. Like, I really used to try to be like the black girl who like holds her tongue and like is quiet all the time. Like, I tried to be that, and I realized I'm not like that. Like, and it's not anything with me fitting in with stereotypes. It's just, I am a human being with human feelings. People do that all the time. Like, there's no freaking reason as to why any person of color has to sit by and just keep their mouth shut and act as the way, like, quiet and perfect. We cannot be perfect. And it's just in the media, that's how we're being portrayed. Like, if we're not like perfect, we're nothing. And if we're not like our stereotypes, we're absolutely nothing. We're non-existent, you know, and it's insane to me. And I just want to wrap this up. It is very important that people of color are portrayed in a way that we can relate to. Like, I remember when Black Panther came out, and it's insane that I have to use Black Panther every single time, but when Black Panther came out, and it's just a normal superhero movie on Black characters. Like, yes, there were like literally subplots of Black people, like Black suffrage. There were topics of that, but it wasn't the main story, and it was made in a way, because you can't also, like, it's sometimes like weird for me to say, like, you can't always ignore Black people's suffrage and Black people's suffering in a way, just like you can't just like put that aside. You cannot, but you can incorporate it in a way that it's not our only story. Like, Black people being pulled over by the police, that's not our only story. Black people being killed in the streets is not our only story. Like, Black women being treated the way that they're treated every single day, that's not our only story. But you can use it in a way that it's normalized. Like, things can be normal. So, like, when I read a book and that has a Black character just living her life, like, especially like Black women just living their lives, I want that in like TV shows. And it's not, and I will always say this, like, in books it's way different. I mean, it's very hard in books anyways. Like, I really cannot tell you how many books I've read with like Black characters, because they're not really advertised as much, but that's a whole other story. But there are more, in my opinion. I could be wrong, this is completely my opinion, but I feel like in Black books there's like more freedom for authors to kind of publish that out there, at least in this day and age. Maybe like now that I'm like paying attention to Black authors releasing Black content, because as opposed to like TV shows and movies, like, that reaches like a broader audience. Like, nobody, like, a lot of people, like, compared to reading books, people watch more TV shows and movies, which is just an obvious thing. And it's going to want to appeal to like the white gaze. Like, I don't know how many people just want to watch normal Black people just existing. Like, we used to have, like, a lot of people know this, like, one of my favorite shows of all time is Living Single, and a lot of people say that it is like the Black version of Friends, which isn't true. Actually, it is what inspired Friends, because Living Single was first, and it's just like Black characters living in New York City and just doing their day-to-day lives, and it's the funniest show I've ever watched in my life. It's the best show. I grew up on it. It's an amazing show, and it's just Black people just living. It's not using, like, it's using their trauma just of like being Black. And I don't want to say trauma because it's like a really weird to say it, but like, they're just their lives and their experiences as being Black, like the good and the bad, and just incorporate it in normal lives. It's a comedy show. It's something light. It's something fun, and we can just use that further. But back to my book thing, I think it's like more, there's a lot of more books focused like just easily on Black culture than there is movies and TV shows. But there's still going to be backlash of Black people just living normally, because it needs to appear, something has to relate to the white audience, because that is the majority audience, and it can't be something unfamiliar. Like, it can't be something that's just like normal. I mean, I can be wrong, but that's just how I feel. And there's just a lot of things that I can't really incorporate into a podcast I have with a time limit, but people of color are and have always been portrayed in the media as just the worst of the worst, like just using our stereotypes, and it's probably going to continue that like that until the day I'm dead. Who knows when that'll be? Hopefully that's when I'm like 80 something, I don't know, but it's a thing, and it shouldn't be a thing, which is my main point. It shouldn't be a thing, but it is what it is. But it sucks. Like, I don't know. This is kind of me getting like a little frustrated towards the end and in the middle and all over the place. This is very an all over the place rant, but I hope everybody enjoyed it, and keep up with the latest from me, and I'll definitely have like lighter subjects to come, maybe another album review If you guys want more album reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, leave that down in the comment section. Okay, see you guys next time, or hear me. I hope you guys hear me next time. I don't know. I'll try like a new like phrase when I leave. Okay, bye guys.